So after the previous video that was highly political and sensitive for a lot of people, let's move to more lighter, easier, generic topics which some of you are interested in. Although, well, finally it will be still a bit political, I guess. And the most crazy thing is that my viewers who are watching my political videos, they know that I didn't support the mainstream Western view on the Russia-Ukraine war conflict. If you want details, you can go to another videos. And a lot of them, I would say probably most of them, automatically assume that if I don't support the mainstream Western narrative about this war, that means I am super pro-Russian in all of other aspects, like I am this typical traditional Russian woman who supports the patriarchal religious values and all of this traditional gender role stuff. And I am not. So kind of I'm getting hate from the both sides, like progressive folks from the left, who mostly aligns with the USA Democrats. They are aligned with the mainstream West narrative about the Ukraine war, which Biden was promoting. They hate me because of my ideas that the war should end, and that Ukraine have to give up things because, well, that's despite that might be unfair and whatever, it saves lives. So they hate me for this, but another part of folks who fully support my views about the conflict, they hate me because I am pro-Western in the values like feminism, tolerance, LGBTQ friendly, things like that. So I cannot be good for everyone, and today I wanted to talk about the topic that was offered by one of my viewers, and it is about why Russia has such a huge divorce rate. I didn't know that it might be interesting for people, but maybe. Finally, I started to investigate the topic myself a little bit, and it's not purely clear that it's so huge in comparison with the West. I mean, it's in the higher end, but not really drastically. Let me explain you more. For example, if you go to the statistics and you check the crude marriage and divorce rates, for example, in European Union, you will see that the crude divorce rate is around, well, lately especially, in the last years, around 1.92. And in Russia you will see that it's about 4, almost 5, 4 and a little. So it's like, seems like it's almost twice higher. But then you have to compare it to the crude marriage rate. And you see that crude marriage rate in European Union it's around 4.2, 4.3 on average, and in Russia it's much higher. It's like 6, 7, depends on the year you are considering. So it's not fully fair to only compare the indicator, which would be the crude divorce rate, because it doesn't take into consideration amount of the marriages, and you should account on this. That's why also we should consider the divorce rate in relations to amount of marriages. For example, divorce rate per 100 marriages. In Russia it's around 74%, it depends and varies each year. So basically they are dividing amount of divorces to the amount of marriages each year. It's also not a perfect indicator. For example, 74%, it doesn't mean that 74% of the marriages end up in divorce. It's not exactly. It means that this year there was, for example, just a random number, 7,400 marriages, divorces, and 10,000 marriages. That would reflect it. But the divorces could have been from the previous ages where the marriage rate were higher, for example, or lower. So it's also not perfect indicator, but well, it's something. The more variables we consider, the better we are to the truth. So in Russia it's around 74%, and if we check the European Union countries, well, I mean, it's also quite high. There is a number of countries where this indicator is even higher than in Russia. But still, yes, we see that Russia would be on the higher end of this. So we can agree on the fact that Russian divorce rate is really huge, but it's not insanely more huge than in the West, specifically in Europe, because yeah, it's also not that bad in Europe in these regards. So I will try to analyze all the possible reasons why Russia has a divorce rate higher than most of the European countries. And the first reason, I think, is related to the fact that a lot of Russian couples, they are marrying very young. It's because the so-called family values are heavily promoted, and especially among women. Not just family values, which is in itself, it's not a bad thing, but the sexist, patriarchal BS that ties the value of a woman to the fact if she has or doesn't have a husband, a family. So since the very early childhood, girls are hearing that to be complete person, to be complete woman, you must successfully get married. So what do you think is the result of this? That, of course, a lot of people, especially girls, they are hurrying into marriage, because marriage in their young minds, it's an equivalent of success. Their success as a person and their success as a woman. You have a husband, bam, tick, is done, you are complete. And a lot of marriages, first marriages, because a lot of divorces, as you know, so there are second and some people have third ones. First marriages often happens like at the age of 22 or so. For example, among my friends, I have a lot that already are going into their second marriages and second round of kids with their new partners. And what do you think? What kind of perspectives and probability of the long-term happiness and compatibility a couple have when they are super young? Even their brain hasn't finished to form yet, because until 24 you're still developing. Indeed, you are developing your personality until the old age, mostly, but it's especially active in the early age. And some people even getting married at 18 years old. I had these friends as well, and the marriage was broken after a few years. Obviously, I'm not saying that it's always the case, but the probability that you will grow old and that the person that you met and fell in love with when you was 18 or 19, that it will be forever and ever, and you will be super compatible, you will be happily grow old, die together, it's very low. Because often people at this young age, they keep in they keep in developing themselves. They are searching for their own meaning of living. A lot of people don't even know what they want to do with their life. They study something and then they decide, Indeed, that's not what I want to do as a profession, so I want to change my way of life, things like that. So you are often not the same person at your 30-something as when you were 18 or 20. And naturally, if two people grow so far apart personally, well, they might realize we are absolutely not compatible and it's time to say goodbye. Another big reason for such a high divorce rate, in my opinion, is sexism or traditional gender roles. As you know, in Russia, these kind of things are, again, very, very heavily promoted, especially now when the country needs more babies. So, girls, they are taught that they should be basically perfect moms and very pretty ladies for their husbands. They should take care of the home, and the husband should, well, earn money, provide, defend, things like that. But there's in the modern world, there are some contradictions, because it's not like if everyone would be happy in these roles, every woman, that we wouldn't have such a high divorce rate. Because, well, think by yourself. If a woman feels ultra mega happy being this home taker, caregiver, and if she wouldn't need anything else, she wouldn't want to divorce. And the most of the divorce initiations in Russia, they are done by women. So something is wrong here, right? So not everything is so perfect. Why everything is not that perfect? Well, because in a lot of cases, now woman is not only expected to be all that pretty, caretaker and all of this stuff, but she is also expected to provide as well. She's expected to work and bring money on the table. So before the marriage, girls, they have kind of illusion and idealizing the marriage image. They see it as a, well, kind of Kodak moments. She's pretty, cooking something super yummy, her husband is happy, smiling kids are running around, and well, it's perfect. And maybe she thinks, yes, at the same time, I might work something less important than my husband because I'm a woman and I just want to, well, keep low profile in this regards. But then the reality happens after the marriage. And the reality is not just this super nice picture. The reality is that after destroying your body and having a lot of health issues after giving a birth, you have kids that, apart of smiling cute at you, they also demand huge load of work. And as a woman in Russia, you just realize this huge load of work, 95% is falling on you, on your shoulders. And if you are working at the same time, you're coming back from work and there's another shift of work starting, because men in Russia are not expected to divide this childcare 50-50 and to divide not only childcare but the house care 50-50 and the cooking as well. So a lot of women, and I personally know those, when they are marrying and having kids, well, they are doing everything: cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, going to work, and try also to maintain their beauty and everything. And it's really like becoming too exhausting for them, because husband after work he or goes to hang out with his buddies or watching some TV shows and sometimes playing with kids, because, well, playing party is nice, why not? I mean, if you are a woman in this situation, then you would understand why at some point you wouldn't care about what other people say. you get the fuck out of this marriage because it's shit. And your life becomes basically better because instead of taking care of kids and husband, you just have to take care of the kids. By the way, another point, with all of this shitload of work, you're also expected to sexually serve your husband because if you don't take care of him and neglect, he will cheat on you. So, I don't know why no one is in Europe, why no women in Europe are jealous about this kind of traditional gender roles. Well, because it's pretty shitty, and that's why it also contributes into the growing divorce rate. And the next point is the problem of alcoholism and low wages in Russia. But to be fair, I want to point out that if we compare just average value of alcohol consumption in Russia with of modern days Russia, not 90s Russia, which was horrible, but modern Russia with average alcohol consumption among European countries, you will see that it's not that different. Indeed, it's kind of the same. But in Russia, the thing is that the disparity between poor regions and the capitals are huge. So if among Europe it's more or less homogeneous, this 10 and something liter of alcohol on average per person during the year, so in Russia this same number, it's not exactly representative. It means that in very developed regions, and especially in capitals like St. Petersburg, Moscow, where a lot of people are quite successful, they have good salaries, they have cars, so they cannot drink as often, they consume less alcohol, and in the regions and small villages, especially small towns, the situation is way worse. The salaries are much shittier. The differences, they can be like dozens of times in comparison with Moscow, for example. And the problem of alcoholism is relevant for the poor regions, for small towns. That's why I still want to mention it. And often these two problems are tied. You have a very low salary, you feel unappreciated, you live in this village or small town in Russia, in the province, you don't see the perspectives of professional growth, you feel unappreciated, and that leads often to your mental escape, to get drunk, because it's one of the few things that makes you temporarily happier. And well, it's really hard not to get into the habit of heavy use of alcohol, and it becomes a problem after some years. And of course, having an alcoholic as your husband, because mostly it's a men's problem, less female in case of Russia. Well, I mean, it's obvious that at some point it becomes unsustainable. The marriage just cannot be happy with a person who drinks too much. As you know, it not only destroys your body, but it also can make a person very aggressive and influence mental health in horrible ways. So yeah, it's inevitably leads to family problems and often divorce. And another thing that I want to mention is social acceptance of divorce. And I think it's a very good one. Because why in some Western countries there have been very low divorce rate historically? For example, I can speak about Spain. In the Franco times, the divorce rate here was very low. Why do you think? Because people didn't have marital problems? Of course not. All of the cheating, misunderstanding and other stuff, it existed always. But Spain historically was very religious. The Catholicism, this tradition much stronger here and still stronger than in Russia. Right now it's less noticeable, but still you have a lot of schools that are kind of semi-religious. In Russia we don't have that. So this religious part are really not relevant in Russia still. I know that nowadays Putin and government tries to use religion as a tool to promote again these family values, to make people give more births, no abortion and no divorce, right? But historically it was not a big thing for Russia. And my country been part of Soviet Union during 70 years. And Soviet Union was, well, as you know, quite atheistic country. And a big portion of Soviet people, they had higher educations, they graduated from universities and institutes, and I hope I don't insult feelings of religious folks, but higher degrees of education are correlating with being less religious. So still a lot of people in Russia, most of people that I knew, indeed I didn't know any truly religious person. I mean, most of people in Russia probably will say, yes, I'm a Christian, but what does it mean? It's not like in some conservative states in USA. I know, or at least I heard you tell me, that in some of the conservative states, in small towns, being religious really means something. That people know the Bible, they go to churches every Sunday and they do all of these religious things. And they behave in like according to the religious values. In Russia it's not like that. A person can say, yes, I'm a Christian, but what does it mean? It means that probably they were baptized, and that's it. They don't, most of people that I know, they don't pray, they don't go to churches, maybe when they just get married to do this kind of religious tradition, but not even everyone. I think indeed less portion of people are doing this than not. And that's it. So it's basically kind of tradition. You have the tick, yes, I am baptized, and so what? Means practically it means nothing. So there is no this very strong restriction in their mind about the divorce, because the God doesn't mean that much. Like they don't have the fear of like, oh, that would be a sin to get divorced, whatever. No, you can do it if the marriage doesn't work. And I heard these stories about some ultra-religious American guys who are thinking about going to Russia to find this traditional woman with Christian values to get married and have a family with. For example, I was talking about one of these guys in one of my videos. I will leave the link in the description. But I mean, of course they can find a traditional woman in the sense that a woman will take care of herself, look pretty, everything else, and look at you as the head of the family and be more obedient than American woman, average American woman, right? But expecting to find a truly religious woman who is truly living by these biblical Christianity values, I mean, good luck with that. We have some folks that are really religious, but we call them, it's curious, we call them religious people, as if other people were not religious, because most of Russians, maybe 70%, they were baptized, so technically they are Christians, religious, but in a practical way they don't have relations with the church. So we call people who still go in regularly to the church as religious, and the percentage of these people are really low. I don't have anyone among my friends who are doing this, and they often see as kind of weirdos, sorry to say that. So, well, I guess I will finish my video here. Thank you everyone for attention, and I hope you will have a great week ahead.